Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Public Works for today, Friday, August 11th, 2017.
Commissioner Rivas, Repenning James, and Jacinto are present. President James, we have a quorum. May we start with Bureau introductions, please, starting with Bureau of Street Services.
Tim Tyson, Bureau of Street Services.
Dan Myers, Bureau of Sanitation.
Maria Martin, Bureau of Engineering. Kimberly Fitzpatrick, Bureau of Contract Administration.
Good morning, Ruben Flamenco, Bureau of Street Lighting.
Good morning, Ted Jordan, Public Works General Counsel.
Fernando Campos, Executive Officer. President James, we received a speaker card under General Public Comment. We have no commentary under the Neighborhood Council Comment section, and we also received speaker cards on items 1, 2, and 3.
All right, we'll close the Neighborhood Council category of commentary. Is there a second to my motion to approve the meeting minutes from the meeting of Monday, July 24th, 2017 by Commissioner Repenning? Any objection? Without objection, those meeting minutes will be approved. Agenda item number 3, reading and setting of a hearing date, 1911 Act, Mar Vista near Venice Boulevard Improvement Project, recommending that the board authorize and set the hearing date for Friday, August 25th, 2017, for the Board of Public Works to consider any appeals and or protests regarding the full acceptance and adoption of the warrant and assessment for the Mar Vista near Venice Boulevard Improvement Project under the Improvement Act of 1911. The project number is A11-E1907442. Mr. Herman, you have a card in on number 3.
Well, we all know what the area of Mar Vista looks like. We know what Venice Boulevard can look like. But when it comes to the public works and how it makes the so-called improvements, I'm referring to the Improvement Act of 1911. That's how far it goes. You know, you realize that we have some dilapidated, corroded, old plumbing, streets, infrastructure, old wiring going on around there, but I'm not going to get into the details of all that bullshit. The real bullshit is, when are you going to stop bonding from fucking up the traffic in that area of Mar Vista and Venice Boulevard and create a better improvement so that everyone doesn't have to sit there in that goddamn traffic and enjoy themselves looking at each other, not knowing when they're going to get home. So in point and conclusion of all this, no more Mr. Bonin, no more traffic, Mr. Bonin, and no more drugs, Mr. Bonin. That's how fucked up you are.
On agenda item number 3, we are setting a hearing date for appeals on the project. Anybody have any questions? Mr. Price is here if anybody has any questions. Then I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 3. Is there a second by Commissioners Repenning and Jacinto? Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 3. Any issue sending number 3 forthwith? We will send number 3 forthwith. Agenda item number 1, task order solicitation number 5, AECOM Technical Services for AECOM Water, for the Wastewater Conveyance Engineering Division, I should say. Recommending that the board authorize the city engineer to issue the task to AECOM from the pre-qualified on-call wastewater and environmental consultants list to provide sewer engineering support services for the WCED as stated in task order solicitation number 5 with a budget authority of $8 million, which includes contingency. Mr. Jensen, actually, before you go, Mr. Herman, you have a card in on number 1. Mr. Herman passes number 1. Mr. Jensen.
All right, good morning. I'm Brad Jensen with the Wastewater Conveyance Engineering Division of the Bureau of Engineering. This task order will provide services of a consultant to support the city's engineering design workforce for the design and delivery of the wastewater collection system facilities. Some of the items that will be done under this task may include preparing plans and specifications for various collection system projects, including design support during construction, providing staff support for the Wastewater Conveyance Engineering Division, as well as support offices in delivering the wastewater program, which may include real estate services, drafting support, environmental support, and support for our public affairs and community outreach efforts. May include structural engineering design for new and rehabilitation projects, and also other design support services as needed. This task order will also provide technical services to support our design standards and investigative group, which may include procuring testing equipment and or materials, reviewing and providing recommendations on current testing procedures, as well as providing testing services. The task force solicitation was issued to all 24 firms on the pre-qualified consultant list. We received 7 proposals. These proposals were reviewed, and we based our recommendations on the following criteria. The capability of the project team to provide the scope of service, the expertise and the experience of the project team, the development in the task force solicitation, the proposals that we received as far as the development of their scope of the work, the value offered to the city, the project team's knowledge of city facilities and procedures, and the project manager's experience and qualifications and availability. AECOM has assembled a team that will be able to provide the support services to address the task order needs. AECOM, being one of the largest consultant firms, provides the capability to bring more resources to the city than other firms to support our requirements. AECOM has also identified multiple sub-consultants that are available to provide various services as identified in the task order solicitation. AECOM has also provided a very strong proposal in providing the services to support our design standards investigative group, as also with our other consultants. Our design standards group has seen an increased trend in the submittals and requests for approvals of many products, including those relating to green streets, permeable pavers and pavements, parkways, parkway median capture and use of passive irrigation, etc. AECOM has the ability to provide many of the anticipated lab services in-house, as well as they've identified several independent laboratories that are able to support our needs and requests that we will be making under this task order. AECOM also has one of the lowest home office filled over rates of the 7 consultants that responded to this task force solicitation. They have a filled office overhead rate of 139%, and they have one of the lower field office overhead rates of 114.7%. So for these reasons, the Wastewater Conveyance Engineering Division determined that AECOM provided the best value to the city compared to the other proposals, and it maximizes the use of our funds in supporting the delivery of the wastewater collection system program. AECOM has also pledged the following participation levels as part of the business inclusion program. We had requested 15% MB in the task force solicitation. They're proposing a 16% participation, a 4% WBE, a 22% SBE, 20% EBE, and 2% DVBE. So based upon the overall evaluation, we are recommending that AECOM be found that they provide the best value to the city under this task force solicitation, and request the authorization of the Board of Public Works to allow the city engineer to issue the notice to proceed to AECOM for an amount of $8 million.
Any questions for Mr. Jensen? Thank you for the background and the explanation, Brad. Let's go to Commissioner Cento first.
Thank you, President James. Brad, thank you for the report and the rationale you provide for the selection of AECOM. For this, just a question. The last task for this scope of work, was it the same firm, or do we have a different firm that provided?
The last 2 task orders that we had for similar contracts in our division was Brown & Caldwell, was our consultant that we've had the last 2. Prior to that, we had Lee and Roll.
So it's important we put it out, the toss, competitively, and
Yeah.
depending on how we rate it, there are different firms that are able to do the scope of work. So I think it's good to hear that we're getting the best deal, as you say, for the city with their overhead rate and their performance. So I support this. I think this is a good process. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Cento. Anything further on number one? I don't have anything on number one. Commissioner Cento's made a motion that we adopt agenda item number one, seconded by Commissioner Rivas. Any objections? With that objection, we will adopt agenda item number one. Any issue sending number one forthwith? We will send number one forthwith. Have a good weekend, gentlemen. Agenda item number two, tree removal in Council District 2, 6033 through 6117 block of North Beeman Avenue. It's for the sidewalk repair program. Recommending that the board find that the tree removal classifies as operation, repair, maintenance, or minor alteration of existing street, sidewalk, and gutter involving negligible or no expansion of use beyond that previously existing and does not involve the removal of a scenic resource. Number two, that the action is exempt under Article 3, Section 1, Class 1, Category 3, existing facilities, sidewalk repair, or maintenance of the City of Los Angeles Environmental Quality Act guidelines from 2002. And number three, that none of the exceptions to the use of a categorical exemption as set forth in Section 15300.2 of the state CEQA guidelines apply. And secondly, review and approve the tree removal permit request for the removal of 9 trees located on the 6033 through 6177 blocks of North Beeman Avenue for the reconstruction of an off-grade sidewalk. Tree replacements are required. Mr. Herman, you have a card on number two.
We all know who Paul Krikorian is. Now, does Paul Krikorian have the integrity to see that all existing sidewalks, curbs, and ramp curbs are negotiated immediately, quickly, in response to the Willits versus Los Angeles case? Because apparently not. $30 million hasn't reflected any change to the conditions of the infrastructure of our sidewalks and streets. That's a real goddamn shame. I can't make it any simpler than that. Violations of your ADA rights under Title II and Title III, discrimination by elected officials for abuse towards individuals with physical and non-physical disabilities to navigate our sidewalks and streets. Leave the 9 trees alone. They're not an endangered species yet. But every other fucking tree that you cut down becomes an environmental impact. Because it takes many years for a tree to grow, to become a nice shade and a place I can call home. There's no place like home, as I said to Kevin De Leon, the senator from Sacramento, other than he's a fucking asshole too, because he doesn't follow the same fucking rules under Sacramento, Barden versus Sacramento. Create better infrastructure, senators. Get on the job and use your legislative power to push this city of Los Angeles to fix our sidewalks and streets for settlement and access, and no longer allow them to deny us programmatic access for our safe walk and adventure in the city of Los Angeles. Thank you.
Mr. Tyson on number two.
Good morning, President James, Commissioners, Board Representatives, City Attorney, and Executive Officer. Today, we're here to talk about the Bureau of Engineering is the lead agency in identifying the defective sidewalks at several locations throughout the city of Los Angeles as part of the sidewalk repair program. In addressing potential impacts to street trees adjacent to targeted locations, Mr. Maury, Bureau of Engineering representative, contacted the Bureau of Street Services in reference to reconstruction of off-grade sidewalk conditions along the 6033 through 6117 block North Beeman Avenue. Bureau arborists inspected the subject location on March 14, 2017. The inspection revealed 31 street trees consisting mostly of American sweet gum liquid amber styrecta fluid trees growing along the 6,000 through the 6100 block of North Beeman Avenue. 9 of the 31 street trees will be severely impacted by the proposed sidewalk repair and will require removal. The 9 trees identified for removal are 3 camphor trees and 6 American sweet gums. These trees are located at 6033, 45, 51, 57, 07, 13, 17 North Beeman Avenue. The 9 subject trees are measuring approximately 12 to 24 inches in diameter by approximately 25 to 40 feet in height and are in fair to poor health and growing in 6-foot parkways. The sidewalks, curb, and gutters are all going to be removed and replaced due to the uplift and severe disruption by the roots and the root crowns. The required root pruning to allow the trees to remain would significantly and adversely affect the tree's health and roots stability. Yazeta, Diaz, Keene, Fujat, Shaw, and Yedelian of Council District 2 were notified of the proposed tree removal request on July 3rd, 2017, as well as the Community Forest Advisory Committee, and the trees were posted physically on March 14, 2017. There's 31 trees on the block. We're going to be working on the east side, and that's where the 9 trees are located that will need to be removed. One of them is on the corner, one of the camphor trees, and that's going to be affected by the ADA ramp that has to be installed on that corner. The other 2 camphor trees are planted unpermitted a while back. I don't know, there might be 25 or 20 years old, and they're right in front of the stop sign, as you can see in your photos. Those trees currently would not be replanted there today. So when we bring this up to our new code and standards, that these 2 trees need to be removed there in front of the stop sign, as there's utilities right next to the second one if you look in the photos in the right-of-way. The other 6 liquid amber trees, the curbs are completely pushed out. This would require 2-sided root pruning on those trees, and a couple of them show signs of xylella. So with that in mind, it wouldn't be advantageous to try to save these trees. It would be better to remove and replace these trees with new trees. The new trees are going to be 18 24-inch box-sized pink trumpet trees, and thou shall be planted along the 6,000 through the 6100 block of North Beeman Avenue. There will be 3 trees at 6045, 2 trees at 6040, 6051, 5707, 13, and 17. And there will be 1 tree at 6033, 6101, and 6112 North Beeman Avenue to replace the removed trees. All trees will be watered by the office, all trees will be planted by the Office of Community Beautification, and the Urban Forestry Division shall be watering the trees for a period of 3 years. That concludes my report. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Commissioner Repenning.
I just wanted to say, looking at the sidewalks, it definitely is clear that this work needs to be done. They look pretty bad. And I wanted to actually ask you, Tim, about pink trumpet trees. Tell me why do we like them for this site?
Well, it was chosen by the inspectors who were out there, and I didn't have a disagreement with it. They're nice trees. We're looking at the size of the parkway and what trees could be replanted in it that won't do damage within a certain amount of time for sustainability.
Are they flowering trees?
Yes, they're pretty.
They sound nice.
You know, if you drive down a street with jacarandas when they're all purple, it's just amazing. So when you drive down streets that have the orchid trees, it's quite amazing. It's only that one time a year, but it's quite amazing when you go through it at that time.
Do they get as big as these?
As the liquid ambers, no.
No, okay.
No, the liquid ambers, they get very tall. The pink trumpets get broad.
But they'll provide a lot of shade.
Right, they get broad and actually will provide a more larger area of shade underneath them.
Okay, thank you, Tim.
Thank you, Commissioner Repenning. Commissioner Jacinto.
Thank you, President James. Tim, thank you for this report. So we're going block to block on this, right, to create that access, and that's why 9 33% of the trees are being removed and replaced, but we're keeping 66%, almost two-thirds
Yes.
on that. Okay, so that's for, in fulfillment of our Willett settlement for access-related things too as well. Basically, that's it. I just wanted to confirm that if there are any questions regarding the cumulative impact of the tree removals throughout the city, we have a process that our public can provide some input and participate. Tim, right? We have
Yes.
I think it's the Bureau of Engineering. Maria, you can maybe speak to that too. We have an ongoing program of notice of citizen input and participation regarding the Willett's program, the tree removal program.
Yes, excuse me. The city is preparing, the Bureau of Engineering is preparing an environmental impact report. Right now, they're in the scoping process currently.
So that our constituents can participate in that.
Yes,
Okay.
it's a public process.
Great. Thank you, Maria. Thanks, Tim.
Tim, I would just mention for the oral record that I always appreciate when there are the community, neighbor, adjacent property owner consent forms that you all provide in the package. It just indicates that that it's they know what's happening and they're informed and the outreach process has taken place. So I always appreciate that. Thank you. Anything further? I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 2. Is there a second by Commissioner Cento? Any objection? Without objection, we will adopt agenda item number 2. Any issue sending number 2 forthwith? We will send number 2 forthwith. Thank you.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 4 is an oral report from the Office of Community Beautification. Mr. Herman, you have a card on number 4.
As the great work of Paul Roch and his team, he needs more money. He needs more money to recruit young adults and disabled adults like myself so we can get our ass out there and clean up our streets. But you can't do it on a regular fixed budget. You give yourselves budgets and you give yourself a little extra on the budget. Not to say that you don't pad your wallets with special interest, but that's a different budget. Now, what Mr. Paul and his team need is money. Real fucking money to get out there on Soto Corridor and fix my fucking sidewalks and streets. To beautify my neighborhood, 90063. So that those white nigger politicians cannot go out there and stand on the curb and say, look what they've done. It's what I've done. The advocate, Armando Herman, for the record. Get it, Penny? This is what I do for the community. And when I come back here to this next meeting, for the record, I'm going to bring my Caltrans paperwork, 4 pages of it, saying that it's your responsibility to fix our fucking ramps and curbs and sidewalks, not engage in a lengthy, deliberate waste of my fucking time and the public's time, and more so the people who are populated under a disability. So do something about it. Give Paul Roch some money. Let him get out there and clean up Zonal by Hazard Park and remove all that brush and the weeds and debris that Mr. Michael Carrianas talked about in council chambers in El Sereno. Fucking get the job done.
Mr. Roch.
Good morning. Paul Roch, Director of the Office of Community Beautification. With some updates on some of our programs, our sort of quarterly report to the board. So I'll begin with the few of our end of fiscal year numbers for the fiscal year that just concluded. So for the period of July of 2016 through June of 2017, OCB coordinated and supported 383 volunteer cleanup/community beautification events. This was a 20% increase from the previous year when we supported 306. In those events, 28,303 volunteers came out and provided volunteer hours to cleaning up their neighborhoods and their communities. This was a 12% increase from the previous year. Those volunteers collected over 45,000 bags of trash from along the public right-of-way and the various areas that they worked on. As far as the graffiti abatement program, in the last fiscal year, 32.5 million square feet of graffiti was removed on a citywide basis. This was a 15% increase from the previous fiscal year when 27.5 million square feet was removed. A total of 465,004 locations were cleaned. Of these, 131,644 were requests for service. Interestingly, for the first time really in forever, the number of requests for service dropped slightly. The previous year was 133,000, so it went down to about 131. But this was still the second most.
What would you attribute that to, Paul? Is that good news? Or?
Well, I'm going to say yes, it is.
I would go with the optimistic approach.
It's a high number. It's the second highest number we ever had. But I would think because our contractors were out there and removed about 5 million more square feet than they did the previous year, that by them being more proactive and doing more graffiti abatement, there's hopefully less that people see and need to report. So that's what I would think it is, because every year, I mean, before that, there's just been significant jumps in the number of actual requests submitted, especially as the city's introduced the 311 and the various apps and the different ways that people can report graffiti. Of these requests, 60,000 came through the mobile app system, 46,000 from self-service, somebody actually going on to the city's website and submitting a request for service, and 24,000 were a result of somebody actually picking up the phone and calling 311, which is kind of surprising because I was actually in a meeting with ITA yesterday, and overall the number of service requests, 53% come as a result of somebody calling 311, and 47% come as a result of somebody utilizing the mobile app or the self-service. So for some reason, graffiti seems to lend itself to people utilizing the mobile app or submitting it on their own. As regards to the public right-of-way cleanup, OCB contractors last fiscal year cleaned over 5,000 locations, picked up over 125,000 trash bags of weeds, litter, and debris from along the public right-of-way, and collected over 19,000 bulky items also from along the public right-of-way. They were greatly helped over the summer by the summer youth that were hired by some of our contractors. Hope you all had a chance to see. I sent a picture yesterday of one of the contractors and their summer youth. We may try to bring them into a board meeting at some point. We did that a couple years ago. I think it's good both for the board to see the youth and especially for the youth to see that, where their jobs actually came from and where the funding was provided from. So I know school does begin for most of them next week. So if there's a way to bring them in, we will try to do that. In regards to the Sidewalk Incentive Rebate Program, which Jason Valencia of our staff kind of is the main point person on. Since the beginning of the program, there have been over 1,500 applications received. Of these 1,500, about 700 have been deemed ineligible for various reasons. But so far, 303 applications have been accepted and offers have been made. 283 offers have been accepted by the individuals, and to date, 54 sidewalks have been completed through that program. With the increase in the maximum amount available going up to $10,000, and that announcement being made a couple of weeks ago, there's been a huge spike in the number of applications and interest being submitted to the point where we may have already received enough applications to cover the allotment for the current fiscal year, which is about $2.4 million. So, it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out. But it's I think, done its point of increasing awareness and making it, a fully functioning program that covers the cost of the sidewalk repairs. Just a couple other sort of administrative or personnel items as far as OCB. Jason Valencia will be leaving our office effective August 21st. He is taking a job with HCID and moving on in his city career. So on a temporary basis, Anna Huizar of our office will be taking on the sidewalk incentive rebate program along with assistance from other OCB staff. And on a sad note, our warehouse person, Sal Del Castillo, his son passed away last week. And so he's off on an extended leave probably through the end of the month at least. And so OCB staff is having to cover the warehouse operations as well. So,
Paul, we're very sorry to hear that. Send our best, please. Thank you for the report. Paul, do you see any trends, anything remarkable right now other than what you've already commented on?
Well, I think maybe the one other thing is, I did look at, for the first month of the current fiscal year we're in, so for July, we've been kind of keeping track as to how many graffiti abatement requests are removed within 24 hours. We know that is an important aspect to the mayor's office and wanting to get those numbers increased. Last year we were at around 63%, I think, completed within 24 hours or less. So far for the month of July, that number was 72%, so it is trending up, and we do expect that to increase even more with the additional funding once that actually kicks in and our contractors are able to hire additional graffiti abatement staff. So, we are hopeful that we will meet or get close to the stated goal of getting 90% of the requests completed within 24 hours or less. So.
Excellent. Thank you. Anything further? Commissioner Rivas.
Yeah, thank you for this report. I had a question in terms of the graffiti abatement and the goal of reaching 90% within 24 hours. It seems like most of those requests come in through the app, right?
Yeah.
I mean, from what you said. Is there any difference in how fast the graffiti gets removed? Like if it comes in through the app, does it get done faster versus a phone call or?
No,
like the website?
Whether it comes in through the app or the MyLA 311s, by calling 311 or whatever, as soon as that information is entered into the database, it zips out to the contractors. The one nice thing about the app is people have the capability of taking a photo. And so when they do that and they take a photo, it makes it a little easier for our contractors to know what they're going to be dealing with once they get there, make sure that they get the right graffiti. But as far as response time, either way, once that's submitted, no matter how it's submitted, a request is out to the contractors.
So for the contractors, then the issue is just getting more crews that will do this service, right? Is that the case?
That is certainly what we're hoping for, and what we expect is that they haven't been able to hire those additional crews yet because they haven't so far been paid any additional funds for the new fiscal year. We're still working on getting them paid for the month of July, so that'll be the first payment they receive with the additional funding. But we do anticipate that we'll be looking at about 13 to 14 additional graffiti abatement crews out there on the streets responding to requests and hitting some of the high impact areas. So those numbers should be trending up.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Rivas. Anything else? Great. Thank you, Paul.
All right. Thank you.
Have a good weekend. The oral report will be received. General public comment. Mr. Herman, you have a card in?
It's truly amazing that this city and the city attorney, Mike Fuhr's office, continues to ignore the Willits versus Los Angeles lawsuit or the $30 million settlement per year to fix our sidewalk and streets. That's why we're in opposition of the Olympics. Poor infrastructure. And you're going to use that as a deploy to say, oh, look, we fixed the sidewalks. Yeah, well, you didn't fix them on this city budget. And in addition to that, with my complaint regarding the Department of Justice, claim number 607616, Title II, Title III discrimination, I'm going to sue you white niggers of LA for taking my rights away from entering a building because your foolishness. That's right, foolishness. You can't discriminate against a person with a disability. You should not discriminate against a person with his service dog, a PSD, and if that fucking stupid cop LeFew doesn't know what that means, wait until the investigation by DOJ hits his fan. Like I said, shit hits the fan, and like manure, it smells, and that's the smell of LAPD, denying me access to public meetings and causing me more stress, more physical and emotional harm, and I can't wait to see these fuckers sued by me and other people who are visibly and non-visibly disabled. Because we're tired of you fucking assholes pushing the button on us like I told the Department on Disability this past Wednesday. Stop fucking with people with disabilities. And to Mike Fuhrer and his cronyism friends of special interest, if you can't hang with the big boys, then stay out of City Hall. Fuck you. 42 USC 1983, Clarence Brandenburg versus Ohio, KKK 1969.
2 minutes.
Dr. Campos, have we cleared the desk?
Yes, you have.
Okay, then we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Have a nice weekend.